You're listening to 89.1 WIDR FM.
Your source for radio evolution.
Thank you, Chris.
You're welcome.
It is such a joy to have you in the studio with us tonight.
Thanks for having me.
So we got Bubble Crud here in the house going through the rabbit hole with Wombat Music and
Chris. Bubble Crud.
Bubble Crud Chris. Yes, last name we'll never find out.
You can never know.
Yes. So, are you from Kalamazoo?
I've been living here for about 15 years now, close to 15 years, so it's definitely home now. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, are you in other projects besides Bubble Crud, or how long have you been playing music?
Yeah, well, I started playing music in high school, just playing guitar, and I've been songwriting for about as long as I've been in Kalamazoo, actually. I got serious about it when I first moved here. And now, I've been in a few different bands over the years, and now I'm doing Bubble Crud, Impending, and Romp are the three projects I'm doing now. Yeah.
So how long has Bubble Crud been a project?
I think a little over a year now. I probably started writing some of this stuff maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago. This is a pretty experimental project for me because I do a lot of the instrumentation myself and pretty much all the writing myself, almost all of it. So yeah, I just kind of started hearing a lot of music that I hadn't really heard much like it before, and I wanted to try to make stuff that sounded like it, and it just became this project eventually.
So is Bubble Crud kind of your main passion right now, or how do you juggle that between the other projects that you're in?
Yeah, Bubble Crud is like my in-between everything project, I would say. So I think I probably end up spending the most time doing Bubble Crud. But like when Romp has practice, we do Romp practice, and we're recording an EP right now, so we're focused on that a lot. And then Impending, we've done some recording, but I just do vocals in that. So it's pretty pulled back for my part of it anyways. And then when shows come up, we do a couple practices. So this is kind of when I'm not doing something else, I'm doing this project.
Yeah, that makes sense. Earlier last year, I forget when, I interviewed Romp, and it was so sad
I know.
you couldn't make it. Or like, oh.
I was so sick that day, but I was listening while you guys were doing it. It was fun to listen to.
Yeah.
You would have just heard me sniffling the whole time in the background, so.
Yes, just through the mic, just like.
Yeah, it would have been nasty.
I promise we're not doing drugs. At least not on air.
No, off air only. I mean, never. Yeah.
Yes, we'll leave that open-ended. So, I know that everybody I have in the studio, I have them compile a playlist for me. So, can you tell me how you pick the songs for tonight?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I just went through, I assume most people do this, like on Spotify or whatever they use. They just have a ridiculously long list of things they've noted over the past year or two. So I kind of went through that and thought back on what are the things that have influenced this project or other things I'm doing, and tried my best to filter that down. There was an awful lot of them with swear words. So that was tough,
Yeah.
But what can you do? That's, modern music. It's hard to like find songs that don't have swear words, and people don't really do radio edits like they used to. So, but yeah, I think I got a pretty good list of a variety of things from dance music to pop music to hardcore and a little bit of other stuff. So.
Yeah, I know you mentioned you wanted to play more hyperpop, so
Mm-hmm.
I'm devastated about that. But
There's a couple that I really like on here, but there's a couple artists that are definitely big influences on this Bubble Crud project that I couldn't find a single song that they weren't swearing on, so it is what it is.
Well, maybe we can talk about that a little later. Do you know what first songs you want our listeners to hear?
Yeah, we can start with like a popish, hyperpop one, which I think was the first one on the list.
Como?
Yep, Como by Bryce Bishop. I really like Bryce Bishop. He's kind of all over the board as far as genres in his songs, and definitely influences my vocals a lot. So it's a good one to start with, I think.
So we'll play Como by Bryce Bishop and figure out what we're doing from there. And we're back. This is Wombat Music in the studio with Chris from Bubble Crud and other projects, Impending and Romp. And you just heard Como by
Bryce Bishop.
And then Angie by
Spill Tab.
So how did you pick those two for this playlist? I know you kind of touched on it a little bit. But...
Yeah, Bryce Bishop is just, I really, really like Bryce Bishop. I find myself listening to him almost every day. Just the way that he formulates his songs and the way that he mixes his vocals in and the flow and everything, I just love it. And then the Spill Tab I listen to a lot because the production value with the synths and everything is just so well done. And they have really interesting sounding synths that mix really well with everything else. It's a lot more pulled back, almost like a bedroom pop kind of style. But it's just so well done. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, a little more laid back, but it does remind me of summer.
Yeah. Yeah, they're almost sad songs. Almost every single one I've listened to is almost a sad song, but it doesn't make you sad.
Yeah, it's the happy sad.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, reminiscent sad a little bit. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, when you were picking songs from your for this playlist, did you mean from just your songs, or do you have a bunch of different playlists? Are you a playlist maker?
I'm not an organized person most of the time. So I just have one gigantic playlist that is I think it's 900 songs or something now. So yeah, and I just enjoy every once in a while. You can see, as you go through oh, that was summer last year, or that was last fall. And I can see the chunks of when I went diving for new music. And so as I was looking through that list for this, I was just trying to think back okay, when I started Bubble Crud, I was kind of listening to this stuff, and this is some stuff that I've heard really recently, like Angie from Spill Tab that we just listened to. I think that just came out within a month or two ago, but I'm hooked on it. So
how do you find out about new music?
Sometimes people just show me stuff that I really like. There's a few people that I talk to that they'll always just tell me oh, have you heard this? And then I'll go and listen to that song, and it'll remind me of something else, and I just kind of go with it, And oftentimes, I feel like everyone has their app that they go to, or a couple maybe. And mine, I've found for some reason the YouTube algorithm just gets me in my music taste. So often if I want to find new music, I'll plug in something that I really like, and then just let it go. And 2 or 3 songs in, I'll come across something that I really like that I haven't heard before.
Let it go on autoplay?
Yeah, just let it play whatever it's going to play next. And the next one is usually meh. But 2 or 3 in, it starts to figure it out, and then I'm really liking it.
So do you have a really big document or something on your notes app of, okay, these are the albums I need to listen to, or do you...
Nah, not at all. I'm not organized like that at all. People tell me a song and I listen to it, and if I really like it, then I just put it on that giant playlist, and it'll, I always start that at the top when I'm driving in the car or just doing stuff around the house. So it gets the most played. I don't really shuffle it or anything, so all the recent stuff I'll listen to a bunch of times and dive in from there.
Yeah, every once in a while a song comes on, you're I don't think I've ever heard this before
in
my whole life. What?
Mm-hmm.
But it's a bop, and thanks for whoever showed it to me.
Yeah. And it seems I feel like that used to happen a lot more often too. I don't really know. I know Spotify kind of pushes people in certain directions, the dark web of Spotify, that everyone seems to find similar songs at the same time. So it helps me to just talk to people that I trust their music taste, because then I know they're going to tell me something that Spotify isn't going to show me,
Yeah, it's sometimes you can trust the algorithm, but...
Never trust the algorithm completely. You can trust it lightly, but it's getting stronger and smarter all the time.
Yes, it's you think you want this, but you actually want
Yes.
this.
I don't know what I believe anymore. The algorithm's got me.
Yes. I'm just run by AI essentially at this point.
It's true. At least 50%.
Yeah, hopefully never more than that.
Yeah.
But so you said you started writing music quite a bit ago. When did you start writing music?
Pretty much when I first moved to Kalamazoo, I didn't really know anyone, but I already knew how to play guitar pretty decently. So like I moved here over the summer, like I said, like 15 years ago, and I just kind of started writing as something to do because I was really bored, and it just kind of caught on from there. Back then, I was really just writing like just acoustic guitar, so it was almost like folk stuff, like folk punk-ish with a little pop punk-ish stuff in there. And I did that for years before I just kind of moved into heavier stuff, or this project, which is not really heavy, but more pop-ish, I guess.
So what was the first instrument you learned how to play?
Guitar, yeah, definitely. Well, actually, that's not necessarily true. I took like a year of piano lessons when I was a little kid, and I don't remember how old I was, but I remember riding my scooter to my piano lessons, and I had one recital, and I remember going to my recital in this big, beautiful church, and I was like later on in the lineup of all the students. And I was just hearing all of these other students playing their songs that they had worked so hard on. And I got up there and I did the Flintstones theme song. And that was when I realized, yep. And I nailed it, by the way. But I realized pretty quick that piano was not for me. I wasn't pulling any Beethoven off or anything, so.
But I mean, hey, you picked the fun, catchy tune that everybody knows, and it's like, you could play some obscure Beethoven, but...
Yeah, everyone was snoozing until I got up there, and then they were bouncing in those pews, so I sent them off happy.
Yeah, and that definitely parallels in a lot of your shows, where it's like, I think some bands can take themselves too seriously, but I like that you can just, like, goof around and have fun. And...
Yeah, when I go to a show, all I want to do is have fun, and I just want to kind of forget about anything that's happening outside of that show. I do appreciate when bands, kind of push politics forward, or if they say just for like a minute or two, like this song is about this thing, and, stay organized and fight the power and all that. I am down with that for sure. But while we're at that show, it should just be about feeling and trying to have a good time, so that like all of those important things, like staying organized, when you leave that show, you feel like you are recharged and you have the energy to do that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
And being at a show, you just feel, if everyone's having a good time, you just feel so connected to everyone there. Like everyone there is on some level, or could be anyways, a friend of yours. And it's just such a nice feeling. And there are definitely shows that happen every once in a while that people are very stiff, and like the band is just not really bringing it out of them. And sometimes it's the crowd, sometimes it's the band. Hard to say, or just the moment, who knows. But yeah, when a show is right and everybody's just having a good time, there's nothing like it.
Yeah, no, that's true. So is music your first form of artistic expression, would you say?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think I've been doing music. I do a little bit of painting, but not often enough to be very good at it, but I enjoy it. And I've done a little bit of poetry, but I think writing lyrics is kind of the continuation of that, so just fitting it to music. So yeah, I would say music is really my number one, my original and my main form of expression. Yeah.
Yes. So you mentioned writing poetry. So have you been writing poetry as long as you've been writing music, essentially?
Probably. I think I tried to do some poetry when I was in high school, because that was also a time where I had moved and I didn't know anybody. So I think I tried to do a little bit of poetry at that time, but I don't. I'm sure it was terrible. An emo high school kid writing poetry, you don't want to read that.
My life stinks,
Yeah.
and so do my parents.
Pretty much, yeah, basically in that voice even, yeah. And I think my parents were really annoyed of hearing all my music that sounded exactly like that, too. So it was a time.
Yeah, that's just how high school goes.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's true.
like, I remember playing my trombone for my mom, and she's like, I'm really sick of hearing that. Can you go, like, outside?
It must be